My name is Blake Graham, and I've had the honor and privilege of working with Dr. Wallach now for over 15 years, and it's been a fantastic experience. Now, I personally had my start in pre-med studying physics, biology, and chemistry, but you know what's not necessary for medicine? That's right, it's actually nutrition. We were told that between the 4 years of undergraduate work and 4 years of graduate work, 8 years of study, we were going to get one 30-minute lecture on nutrition and no test, okay? Well, here's the thing. There was a reason why there's no nutrition in medicine, and I didn't know that reason until I ran into Dr. Joel Wallach. Now, let me tell you a little bit about Dr. Wallach, because this gentleman changed my life, and he's changed the lives of many of the people here on this webinar tonight. So if you've had your life change, we're going to ask you to share your story with us either now or a little bit later when we get to the different categories. But that's what it's all about. It's about changing lives. Now, Dr. Wallach is a veterinarian as well as a physician. For me, that was a big deal because I knew the veterinarians not only needed nutrition, but I'd spent 4 years working with another nutritional company, and all of their best science came from veterinarian medicine. And I knew that. And so Dr. Wallach being a veterinarian was impressive to me. But he's not just a veterinarian. He is the veterinarian. He is the veterinarian that changed our world more than anyone else. So let's go through some of his accolades. And we're going to tell you about the 4 categories of health tonight and how hopefully it can help to change the lives of not only you and your family, but the people you care about and the people that they care about as well. So we can get ever-expanding circles of people that are getting healthy. All right. So Dr. Wallach, actually, his research has been published 75 times in scientific and medical journals throughout the United States and internationally. He has beaten the FDA over seven times in court. His company, Youngevity, is the only nutritional company in the history of America ever to receive FDA-authorized health claims linking a nutrient and a disease. That's what an FDA-authorized health claim is, linking a nutrient and a disease, where we can say this nutrient helps to prevent a certain disease. And he has done it twice now. And he actually founded his company, Youngevity, to improve both the physical and financial health of people throughout the world. And as Dan Graham, a good friend of mine, says, people need what we have, and they aren't getting it anywhere else. There is nowhere else you're going to get this information. So we're glad you've joined us here tonight. Now, hopefully everybody's heard the best of Dead Doctors Don't Lie. If you haven't heard that CD, get with whoever invited you to this webinar and ask them for a copy, because you need to hear a copy of that. That's a life-changing CD. We're not going to go over all of that, but we are going to tell you a little bit more about Dr. Wallach before we get into these diseases. Now, Dr. Wallach got his start. He was actually the lead scientist on a 13-year government study on the health of animals and people. This was back when there was mercury poisoning in Japan, and the United States was worried that we were getting the same symptoms and zoos throughout America. And we didn't want an epidemic like Japan, so we needed to study it. And we tried to find an animal that was sensitive to pollution, much like we used to take canaries down in the coal mines to see if there was poisonous gas in there. You know, if there was poisonous gas, then the canaries would fall over first, and the miners knew that they had to evacuate. Well, we wanted something like that. You know, if the lions got sick or the tigers got sick, we knew people would get sick. After 13 years on that and over 20,000 autopsies on animals and people, it was published. The findings were published in this book you see on your screen, The Diseases of Exotic Animals, which became the textbook for veterinarians throughout America. And it's now so important that it is in the Smithsonian Institute. That's the one, you know, where they try to keep exhibits of the changes in American history, right? Well, the same strategies Dr. Wallach explained. The work in animals work like a charm in people. In fact, this research has helped to double the lifespan of animals and has eliminated over 900 different diseases that still plague people. The Dr. Wallach says we can do the same thing. Now, just to give you some of the statistics on that, there was a time, some of you may remember, when we were worried that the panda would go extinct because the giant panda was not having babies in captivity. And we worried maybe it's a shy animal. Maybe it doesn't do what needs to be done in a cage, right? Well, based on Dr. Wallach's research, they increased the nutrition. Now there are lots of giant pandas. There was a time when every bear in our zoo would die in its 20s. Today they live to be in their 50s. There was a time when dogs would live to be between 8 and 10. That's where dog years came from. 1 year for us is supposed to be 7 years for our dogs, right? Today, dogs live to be 17, 18. Long-lived dogs, even 19, 20, even 25. Last December, I said a gentleman that had a dog that was 26. Now, you do the math. 26 times 7. That's 182 in dog years, right? Ladies and gentlemen, we can be healthier than we are now. We're just not doing it. Well, we have a unique product philosophy. It's called 90 for Life, and it's based on veterinarian medicine. Now, there's a big difference between veterinarian medicine and what we call the medical profession, or MDs, right? And MDs actually got their start. Dr. Glidden talks about this in his CD called Who Made MDs King. But if you want to find out about the history of the medical profession, you ought to listen to that CD, because he explains that it started with the Fletcher Report back in 1910. And up to that point, 80% of our medical schools taught natural medicine. They taught, helping the body heal itself. Well, the Carnegies and Rockefellers, in an effort to monopolize the health industry, offered huge grants, lots and lots of big money to any medical school that would change their curriculum, not to teach natural medicine, but instead to teach allopathic medicine based on pharmaceutical drugs that are derived from petroleum byproducts. And that's the start of our medical profession. We call them MDs. They should be called ADs, or allopathic doctors, right? But that's where they got started. Now, I want you to think about who controls the teaching, the curriculum in the medical school. And the answer is the pharmaceutical companies. From a pharmaceutical company standpoint, are you going to make more money on healthy people or on sick people? And the answer is obviously sick people. And if you're going to make more money on sick people, you're going to do it on a short period, if they're sick for a short period of time, or if they're sick for a long period of time. Well, obviously, that's another one. If they're sick for a long period of time. And if they're sick for a long period of time, are you going to make more money if they decrease the medication they take, or if they increase the medication they take? Obviously increase it. And that's where our medical profession comes from. In fact, they got so good at this that they realized that they just deal with sick people. Those sick people are going to die. They've got to get new people getting sick all the time. And they mastered that too. They started to team up with our politicians. Did you know that the medical profession, the pharmaceutical companies, actually give large grants to politicians for their campaigns? And as a result, we have health regulations. Health regulations not designed to help us, but designed to protect actually the pharmaceutical industry. Because they do that, we have, in America, kind of mastered the education that helps people get sick. If you cut back on your salt like the pharmaceutical companies want you to, if you cut back on your cholesterol like they want you to, if you eat lots of whole grains like they want you to, and you avoid supplements like they want you to, you do any one of those four and do it religiously, you're going to get sick. You do all four of those, it's going to be more than one thing you're probably going to come down with. See, there, Dr. Wallach says there's actually, when you look at, let's go look at the veterinarian industry. And here the incentives are completely different. They don't make money on sick people. In fact, in the people, we make so much money on the sick people that each of us, in the form of insurance and taxes, helps to pay for the people that are getting sick, because it's just not enough for they don't have enough money to pay for themselves, right? So, in the veterinarian circles, it's very different. Now, I'm not talking about the veterinarians who work on your pet. I'm talking about those that work on a farm. But here is where healthy animals are worth more than sick animals. Nobody wants to pay extra for a steak that came from a mad cow. You know what I mean? And because of that, they're always looking at results. They don't do research for research's sake. They do it for results. And that's why we know that the nutritional education, the veterinarian science, is about 200, and Dr. Wallach says possibly even 300 years ahead of human nutritional science. Okay, in veterinarian science, they never do research on one nutrient at a time. It's always on groups, and that's why Dr. Wallach says when you look at what's in cat food and dog food, and consider this. Every farmer that grows his own food, even if he's working on very, very small margins, whenever he feeds that to his animals, he always adds supplements. He always adds supplements. Now, some of these animals are going to be up on somebody's dinner table here in 2-3 months, some of them 2 years, but they will always add supplements when they feed those animals, because healthy animals are worth more than sick people. Dr. Wallach says we need them to. In fact, there's 90 essential nutrients that our bodies don't produce that we have to consume. And if you don't get them, deficiency leads to a disease. Some of these, it will develop over years and years and years. If you think of osteoarthritis or any of those things. Others of them, the deficiency can be so bad, they can lead to death in a matter of minutes. If you've ever heard of the young athletes that have a heart attack after they work out, well, what's happened? They've depleted their body's resources so much that they don't have enough nutrients to make the heart work, and they get a heart attack, right? Well, when you look at what we need, there's 90. We call it 90 for life. but it's 16 minerals, 16 vitamins, 12 amino acids, and 3 essential fatty acids. And here's the beautiful thing about not only veterinary medicine, and he went back to school, became a physician for 12 years in private practice, proved that the same thing that worked in animals worked in people, but nobody came to find out what he was doing. Well, in his formulas then, he used the 90 essential nutrients, and he had 30 pills and capsules they had to take 3 times a day to get everything you need. Started on the veterinarian formulas. He has since revised the products, redeveloped the products, re-engineered the products to be more effective than ever before. And the most advanced formula you're going to find is what we call the Healthy Start Pack, where it used to take over $600 a month. Now, for about $112 a month at wholesale, we can get more nutrients with better absorption and better results. This is the ultimate package that has 130 plus nutrients with 115 fruits and vegetables, high ORAC, over 5,700 per serving. You've got extra omega-3, 6, and 9s, calcium, magnesium, vitamin D, and more. This is the most advanced formula. But when we talk about health, I want you to understand that we need to both consider people's needs and their budget. Okay, you have to consider both of those. And so the way we do that is we have another package that's a smaller package. We don't want anyone to think that they can't afford to get started. And this classic basic 90 you see here is with a bottle of classic and an EFA. You can go with even a smaller bottle of EFA and get this package with the smaller bottle of EFA for $58.50. That is less, ladies and gentlemen, than $2 a day. And most people, when they try this, they start to save money on their food bill because they don't have the cravings for the snacks. They don't have the cravings for all of the sugar. They don't have the cravings for a lot of the things they used to spend several dollars a day on. And so for anybody here that's on this call, on this webinar now, that has been saving money, has found out that you're eating less, you're snacking less, hey, we'd like to hear from you. All right, let's go on. Now, I want you to understand that these products come with incredible value. One of the reasons they might be more than you have seen with other supplements is simply because there's more in it. In fact, if you wanted to take that one bottle of Classic, which costs $41 at wholesale, and go to a health food store and put it together, there's no way you can get anywhere close to that nutrition for anywhere close to the same price. When we did it, we went to GNC and we looked at it and say, hey, this is coenzyme Q10. Here's another product with coenzyme Q10. Their product is only coenzyme Q10, so one of their bottles would last for 3 months for our comparison. And the same thing with, let's say, grapeseed extract. And we did that with a number of products. Well, when it was all said and done, it came down to be over 9 times more, well, roughly 9 times more for their nutrients than it was for Dr. Wallach's. And that didn't even look at absorption. And we know one of the things that makes Dr. Wallach's products so great is they're so easy to absorb. Okay, and not only that, we have more than just the 90 for life. We have healthy chocolate, and this is one I've already had several pieces today, and it's only 10 in the morning where I'm at. We have weight management. Anybody that's using some of the weight management products that is losing weight, please share that with us, because how many of us know somebody that wants to lose weight? We've got nutritional energy drinks that are so good that entire teams in the NBA only use Dr. Wallach's products. Now, due to their contract with Gatorade, they do drink it in a Gatorade bottle, but they're drinking our products. It's that good. It has so much more nutrients in it than Gatorade and gets such better results. And we have coffee. If you're going to drink coffee, why not drink coffee with extra nutrition? One that gets some of the coffee. We've got a decaf that is our top seller here. That's an organic coffee. And, you know, many of you don't know this, but coffee is actually the second most pesticide product with the most agricultural chemicals and pesticides used on it, only behind tobacco. So you want to get a clean coffee that's good. You know, I would try the JavaFit Decaf, organic and caffeine free, and they don't use formaldehyde, they use water for that. That is a great coffee. You're going to love the coffees. Okay, now how it works for the products is the 90 essential nutrients are the core. That's the, we're going to use the Healthy Start Pack for this. But again, if you're on a budget and you're going to use the bottle of Classic and a smaller EFA, it's not as much nutrition, but still the core. But based on a person's needs and wants, we're going to add petals to our core. We're going to add petals to our flowers, we say. And I use a lot of additional petals, but what you are using for your petals, that's all up to you. So we're going to go through some of the most common packages. When we look at this and people say, what product should I take? Get a copy of the Healing is Easy CD and the 90 Essential Nutrient Brochure. The 90 Essential Nutrient Brochure will actually list the diseases we're going to be going through, and that CD is an interview with Dr. Peter Glidden where he explains what makes these products so incredible compared to everything else that he's ever seen on the market, over 200 different lines that he reviewed, and you'll also get him walking through these categories with you as well. Now let's look at the first category. The first category is actually blood sugar imbalances. And we have huge numbers of blood sugars imbalances in America today. You know, if you've ever craved something sweet, it's actually a body asking for minerals. We have shown over and over again, we actually have agricultural mineral products. We put those minerals back into the soil, and the produce always tastes better. If you've ever noticed that a tomato today doesn't taste like it used to be, that's the reason why. It doesn't have the minerals. What happens when you give people the sugar and don't give them the minerals? What happens is you get a blood sugar imbalances, and many of you have seen this. Let me ask you this one. There's just a couple of things before we get into the disease. Have any of you ever gotten sleepy after a meal? And you can't blame it on the turkey because there was no turkey in the meal. Yeah, it happens all the time. If you're waking up in the middle of the night and you can't get back to sleep, that's a sign. If you're always thirsty or you're craving the sweets, that's a sign. Well, let's go over some of the conditions. Let's go over some of the conditions that are here with blood sugar imbalances. ADD and ADHD fall into this. Adrenal failure, anxiety, bedwetting, bipolar disease, cardiovascular disease, depression, diabetes, dizziness, excessive thirst, sweating, or urination, elevated cholesterol and triglycerides, fainting spells, fatigue, hyperactivity, hypoglycemia, infertility, learning disabilities, memory loss, migraine headaches, moodiness, narcolepsy, night sweats, obesity. Here's one thing. If you have a blood sugar imbalance, you tend to have a harder time losing weight and an easier time gaining weight, right? And that's what can lead to that peripheral neuropathy can fall into this. Here's what's happened. There's actually hundreds of chemical processes in the blood to balance the blood sugar levels. If you're getting sleepy after a meal, that is actually one of the signs of type 2 diabetes. Type 1 is when there's a problem with your pancreas. It doesn't produce insulin. Type 2 is when there's a problem with the insulin receptor. We call it insulin resistance. And that's when your blood sugar goes up and your body reacts by sending out insulin. Insulin's the taxi driver to pick up the blood sugar, bring it into the cell, but it gets to the cell and it can't get in because the gate is closed, right? So it knocks on that gate, can't get in. Your body produces more insulin, the more taxis pile up. Pretty soon they break down the gate, they rush in, and you get sleepy after a meal, right? So there are 23 cofactors necessary for this to work. We've got to have the chromium vanadium to open the insulin receptor, and all of these other 23 cofactors work in what we call the Krebs cycle. So if you wanted to help reverse this, and this is interestingly enough, you know, these two minerals we talked about, chromium and vanadium, in 1957, University of Vancouver in British Columbia, Canada, actually said that these two minerals could cure, and they use the cure word, 85% of the diabetes in the world today. Well, we can't say that our products work for a disease. What we can say is what we call a structure function claim, and that's where we're going to talk about them being helping to support and promote something in the body. And in this case, the healthy blood sugar pack is used to help support and promote the healthy blood sugar. And it is a combination of the 90 essential nutrients, the healthy start pack, plus a secret sauce with some of the extra nutrients to help open up those insulin receptors. Now, if you want the best results with this, I would use 2 of these before each meal. If you're going to do that, do 2 before 2 meals a day, before lunch and dinner. If you are taking your supplements with breakfast and dinner. If you don't get enough, bump it up to 2 before 3 of the meals a day. You'll go through a bottle and a half. I actually use more than that. I will use 3 or 4 before each meal because I get the best results. That when I say before a meal, for me, I get the best results when I take it about, let's say 10 minutes before I eat. So that way the insulin receptor is actually open before the blood sugar goes up. And again, if you're using one of the other packages for the 90 essential nutrients, just add on your secret sauce called Sweeties. Next one's calcium deficiencies. Dr. Wallach explains in his book, Dead Doctors Don't Lie, which has a whole category of all the different minerals and what they're used for. He explains that we used to get 2,000 milligrams of calcium in our diet today. Today, most people get less than 600, but even those getting a lot typically get only 800. So we're at least 1,200 milligrams of calcium deficient. And when that happens, you get a lot of things that break down in the body. In this category, things including ankylosing spondylitis, arthritis, back pain, Bell's palsy, bone spurs, bone fractures, brittle nails, calcium deposits, actually not from too much calcium, from too little, and your body isn't putting it back in the bones, and so it actually gets high calcium levels in the blood, and they start to crystallize. It's because the mechanism to take it out of the blood and put it back in the bones is on vacation, and the mechanism, the parathyroid, to take it out of the bones and put it into the blood is running at hyperdrive, right? But it actually falls in the calcium deficiency category. Same with cartilage and ligament damage, cognitive impairment, depression, Dowager's hump, elevated blood calcium, which we just talked about, high and low blood pressure, hypoglycemia, insomnia, irritability, joint pain, kidney stones, muscle cramps, spasms, and twitches. Ever had an eyelid twitch or a leg cramp? You're in this category, folks. And in fact, when they talk about high blood pressure, it's the cramps around the arteries. Nervousness, osteofibrosis, osteoporosis, obviously, panic attacks, PMS, prolonged clotting time, receding gums. If you've ever heard the phrase, never look a gift horse in the mouth, it's because you would look in the mouth to look at its gums and teeth to see if it had strong bones. And it was just bad manners if you were looking at that without looking in a horse's mouth. When somebody gave you a gift, it's like asking for the price of the gift. Just bad manners there, right? But that's where that phrase comes from. Restless leg, retarded growth, sciatica, tendinitis, tinnitus, tooth decay, trigeminal arousal, and vertigo all fall in this category. Here's what's happening with calcium deficiency. Bones, cartilage, ligaments, joints, muscles, and other tissue degenerate and get inflamed when they get weak. There's over 60 nutrients needed alone for our bones. Okay, and if there's a protein in the bone called bone matrix, if you do not rebuild that bone matrix, you cannot rebuild the bone. Okay, if you don't rebuild bone matrix, you can't rebuild the bone. And when those bones start to break down, they'll lay down scar tissue. If you've ever seen anybody with rheumatoid arthritis, you see the joints are inflamed, well, it will put pressure on nerves. And that can cause anything from ringing in the ears to joint pain to pain in the back, to oftentimes those nerves get pinched so bad that the signal gets cut off. That's where Bell's palsy comes in. Some of the chest pain that people have will actually be from this. So what do? When you have a leg cramp, you have a cramp around the artery, it restricts the artery, and that's 90% of high blood pressure, Dr. Wallach explains. So what do? Well, we can't, again, list products with diseases, but we can talk about a healthy bone and joint pack, which is the nutrients that help support and promote healthy bones, joints, and connective tissue. And this is the same 90 essential nutrients with 2 add-ons. One is the glucogel, and this is all of the nutrients necessary to rebuild that bone matrix. That's the purpose of the glucogel. If you want to rebuild, you want to take at least 8 a day. Dr. Wallach, Dr. Glidden, for people that are larger or use their joints more, will often recommend more, sometimes double that, but at least 8 a day. And here's a beautiful thing too. The one that gets incredibly quick results was actually written up in the Journal of Rheumatology with 60 different patients that they tried at 5 different measurements, including range of motion, the amount of pain, the speed they could walk, their ability to go up and down stairs and stand up and sit down from a chair. And those 5 different measurements, 100% of those 60 people got results in all 5 areas when they used this cream. This is a cream actually made from essential fatty acids, but the CM cream will penetrate deeply because it's fragments of essential fatty acids that penetrate. They relieve inflammation. Now, most inflammation drugs or anti-inflammatory drugs have an unfortunate side effect of leaking calcium from the bones, leaching calcium from the bones. We don't want that. We don't want the joints to get worse while you're dealing with inflammation. We want to do the reverse. This one, in addition to not having any of those side effects, actually, because it reduces inflammation, helps with not only the pain, but it also helps speed up the healing process. And I challenge anybody. I've been doing meetings throughout Japan this last week, and every single meeting we go to, we had take a jar of the CM cream and we hand it around with a Q-tip in it. We tell people, rub it on, anywhere you've got it, that it hurts. If you rub it in your ear, don't put the Q-tip back in the jar, get a new Q-tip. But rub it there, try it and see. And in every single time, within a few minutes, we have people saying, wow, I can't believe how much better I feel. This is one I say put to the test. And if you ever have somebody that's skeptical that you're working with, have them try the CM cream. Works in just a few minutes. That and the energy drinks are great. So I love this category. I love this package, and I use lots and lots of it myself as well. That's the Healthy Bone and Joint Pack. Next one is digestive disorders. Now, there's a lot of things that fall in this category, from acid reflux, allergies, athlete's foot, belching, bloating, bowel gas, celiac disease, constipation, Crohn's disease, dermatitis, diarrhea, diverticulitis, food sensitivity, heartburn, hiatal hernia, indigestion, irritable bowel, jock itch, leaky gut, seasonal allergy, stomach or intestinal pain, thrush, ulcerative colitis, and yeast infections. I know I went through that list very, very quickly. Get a copy of that brochure. It's in that brochure. Get a copy of that. Look at that. Here's what's happening in the body. You are what you absorb. For our body to get nutrients, our stomach has to break them down. And for it to break it down, it's got to have stomach acid. If you've cut back on your salt, you're cutting back on your stomach acid, okay? And what happens, weak stomach acid leads to bad bacteria thriving in the stomach and intestines. That is the cause of ulcers, the cause of people having actually weak stomach acid, the cause of acid reflux. It's not too much, it's actually weak stomach acid. And when you have weak stomach acid, your body isn't able to break down the food like it's supposed to, especially something called gluten. See, gluten is one of the hardest substances for your body to break down. That's why we use wheat in so much of our cooking, because it holds its shape. You need a pH of 1.0 to 1.5, and at the same time that they've convinced us that eating healthy means eating whole grains. And from 1960 to 1990, according to the Center for Disease Control, we increased the amount of grain consumption in our diet sixfold in America. And we've decreased our stomach acid. So we're getting lots and lots of undigested food, especially undigested gluten, going into the intestines. If you've ever had a meal with carbonated beverage and at the same time had bread or pasta, if you think any of the Happy Meals out there, whenever that happens, folks, you're not digesting that gluten like you're supposed to. It's going to cause problems. And you get inflammation in the intestine. It goes down there and irritates the intestine. They get inflamed. And when you get inflamed, your absorption goes down. Now, it doesn't get all inflamed at once. It'll slowly increase the inflammation. 10%, not a huge deal. 30% a bigger deal. 90% a huge deal, right? That's why you're seeing people with gluten intolerance today that you didn't see it with gluten intolerance 10 years ago or 20 years ago. We never even heard about it, right? But now it's a common thing. And folks, it's probably going to get 10 times worse than we think it is. A lot of people have it and don't want to admit it. And it's simply because they've got undigested food going down there. They're getting gluten intolerance. They're getting food allergies. They're getting all sorts of problems. See, folks, you don't need fiber to have a bowel movement. In fact, if you get real constipated, you go to the doctor. What do they give you in the hospital for emergency bowel movements? They give you magnesium. We need more magnesium. Fiber there can be just rough on us. It absorbs minerals and be rough on the villi. We don't want to be rough on the villi. We want to be gentle on the villi. We want to have good stomach acid to break it down. So this is why in the Healthy Digestion Pack, which again isn't designed for disease, but it is designed to help support and promote healthy digestion. We have the same 90 essential nutrients with 2 add-ons that are fantastic add-ons. One is the Ultimate Flora Effects. You know, the good bacteria, the acidophilus, and there's actually other strains in there as well. But the good bacteria in your intestines helps to fight off the bad bacteria. And if you have weak stomach acid, you've been feeding bad bacteria into your intestines for a long time, folks. We don't want to do that, right? If somebody has really bad breath that you can smell, you know, from a ways away, it's not because they don't brush their teeth. Most of the time it's actually from bacteria in their stomach. And so good bacteria help fight off the bad bacteria, and then the ultimate enzymes help break down the food and re-acidify the stomach, folks. We need to re-acidify the stomach. You need to break down the food. You need to have good digestion. And if you have any if you're having any issues with your stomach acid, you need to talk with us, folks, because, you know, you get a weak stomach because your stomach, the wall in your stomach lining is weak, and that actually goes to the next category, which again messes up absorption. But when you get bad absorption, folks, you lead to lots of disease. And the number one thing we're going to see are EFA and copper deficiencies. So let's go on to the next one. Now we're going to call it EFA and cholesterol deficiency in here, but copper deficiency are going to kind of be in this category as well, because when we look at our package that we use, there's a lot of copper in that package. So let's go over some of these quickly. Acne, ALS, alopecia, Alzheimer's, asthma. In fact, Dr. Wallach says Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and MS are the same disease. It's just different parts of the brain that are affected. Brittle hair, cardiovascular disease. And this is, again, one of them where Dr. Wallach changed health regulations. So this, he knows what he's talking about. He changed health regulations in the United States when it comes to cardiovascular disease. Cracked heels, cravings for fried foods, dermatitis, dementia, extended menopause, eczema, fibromyalgia, gallstones, growth retardation, infertility, low libido, low sperm count, miscarriages, multiple sclerosis, muscular dystrophy, PMS, psoriasis, kidney function, split cuticles, and heels. Here's how it works in the body. You see, when we crave fat, it's not a craving for the fat around our abdomen. It's not a craving for that spare tire. It's a craving for the fat around the cell membranes, folks, because it's made up of fats. It's made up of essential fatty acids. It's a lipid bilayer, and lipid means fat. That's the scientific name for fat. And when you don't have this, you get dry tissues. When you get bad fats, okay? Now, I want you to think good fats like fish or avocados. You cut up open an avocado, how long before it goes bad? What is it, 3 months? No, it's a couple of hours and it starts to turn brown. Same thing with fish. Good fats go bad quickly. Do not use, Dr. Wallach says, olive oil, because olive oil, it's great if you're squeezing the olive, but if somebody squeezes it in another country and send it to you, you can't tell how much is oxidized. And you take oxidized fats, you take any trans fatty acids, which are things like margarines, things like vegetable oil, you take those in, anything that's partially hydrogenated or fully hydrogenated is even worse. It's changed the chemical structure. You're going to get a dry cell membrane. On the outside, that's dry skin. Really bad, it's eczema. On the inside, dry lungs, we call it asthma. Dry arteries are not caused from cholesterol, folks. Cholesterol is necessary for the body. It's so necessary, your liver does everything it can to produce it. There are 2 drugs Dr. Wallach says never, ever, ever take. He says cholesterol-lowering drugs and anything that reduces stomach acid. Never use those. If you're trying to help with acid reflux or heartburn, Dr. Wallach says don't reduce stomach acid because that just prolongs the problem, makes it worse. But what you want to do, get a couple drops of one of the peppermint essential oils. Get a couple drops of those in hot water and sip on that, he says. Use that for your relief while you're rebuilding it with a healthy digestion pack. But for cholesterol, never be worried about high cholesterol. Eskimos will have cholesterol over 500 with no heart disease. Dr. Wallach showed that in his autopsy, this is back published in 1971, folks, over 40 years ago, that meat eaters, people that ate a lot, meat eaters that ate a lot of meat and cholesterol versus vegetarians that ate all vegetables and oils, oxidative oils. The ones that had more arteriosclerosis or hardening of the arteries weren't the meat eaters. It was the vegetable eaters. It's from cracked arteries and inflammation, folks. Well, how do you tell if you have cracked arteries? Dr. Wallach says look at your heels. If you have cracks on your heels, you have cracks in your arteries. Well, folks, it gets into your brain. You get cracked brains. How do you tell if you have cracked brain? If you ever go into a room to get something, and when you get there you can't remember what it was, that's a sign. If you ever have the time when there's a word that you're trying to think of, it's like right here and you can't remember it, and you say in the conversation, hand me that thing, or what's his name, or that place we always go to, and the word's here, you just can't get to it, that's a sign, folks. And it can get worse and worse and worse and lead to all of these different diseases we just talked about, right? We need to rebuild this, and the beautiful thing about it, you can rebuild it. All right. So how are we going to do that? Well, Dr. Wallach says to help support and promote healthy brain and cardiovascular function and healthy skin function. That falls in there. And lung function, that falls in there as well. We use the same 90 essential nutrients plus extra EFA. Now, the ultimate EFA versus the ultimate EFA plus. The EFA plus is more of the DHA, EPA, the longer chain ones used for the heart and the brain. But the EFA is more for the skin and the lungs, okay? Because your body uses different lengths of essential fatty acids. So that's why when you're deficient, it's good to take both of them. And then the ultimate selenium. Here's one of these. This is another one. Dr. Wallach says we can say selenium helps prevent cancer. What it does is it activates the glutathione. Glutathione helps to repair oxidative damage. Antioxidants are a great add-on to this. Lots and lots of auric, right? Dr. Wallach says. But especially the selenium is better than an antioxidant because when you activate that glutathione, it is what we call chemically a reducer. It will take something that's oxidized and change it back into an unoxidative state. And so what do? We use the Healthy Heart and Brain Pack. And if you want to, you can add extra selenium. You can even use more EFAs in there. I know I do. But any other health concerns we haven't covered, or if we did cover it, but you missed it and you still just don't know what to start with, you're never, ever, ever, ever wrong to start with the Mighty 90 and then call Dr. Wallach. Start with the 90 for Life and call Dr. Wallach. There are the numbers for his radio show. All the information on this that we've shared with as far as the listing of the diseases are in that brochure. Again, the 90 Essential Nutrients brochure. Get a copy of that, and you can use that for review. And then get that CD called Healing is Easy. That's a great one. All right, do's and don'ts. And while I'm going over the do's and don'ts, anybody that's seen results with the products already in one of these 4 categories, or maybe even something we haven't talked about, please share this with us. We have over 100 people on right now, some of them in groups, and a lot of those people have questions that are going to relate specifically to something you've already dealt with, and they'd love to hear from you. So let's go over the do's and don'ts real quickly. First of all, do's. Natural, get lots of vegetables, lots and lots and lots of vegetables, lots of ORAC, lots of good protein, especially eggs. Dr. Wallach says to eat at least 4 eggs a day. If somebody has a huge cholesterol deficiency, you want to rebuild that, he'll actually tell them to eat over 10 eggs a day many times. And there's actually research showing that somebody eating 25 eggs a day has normal cholesterol. Eating more eggs isn't going to increase your cholesterol, but make sure you do them soft-boiled. Never do it in margarine or vegetable oil. You always want to do it soft-boiled or poached or something where the egg's a little the yolk's still a little runny. That's the best way. You can also do it soft scrambled in butter. Only use butter. Don't use margarine. We already talked about margarine. Don't drink carbonated drinks at meal times because they'll neutralize stomach acid and create the digestive problems. Don't use fried foods. Stay away from processed meats, especially pork products have lots of nitrates and nitrites. They cause holes in the arteries. Reduce the sugar as much as possible and stay away from pesticides and pollution. To get the best results, take your products with food. Make sure you're taking a lot. Typically, Dr. Wallach will say 1 of those packaged for every 100 pounds of body weight. Again, though, because we're dealing with both need and budget, when you have to compare those two, folks, if you don't need, if you have a big need but you have a smaller budget, at least start on 1 of those packages. And then if you need to add on some of the extra secret sauces, that's one way to do it. And then the other thing, finally, make sure you're absorbing. Get a copy of that Serial Killer CD. We've already had people that have asked about that and talked about that, so get a copy of that Serial Killer CD. Now, finally, we have a unique opportunity, and I want to tell you about this because, folks, we need your help. You probably know somebody who's suffering. You probably know people that are praying for answers. I know I've come across people that said, how did you know? How did you know I was praying for an answer there? One gentleman I met on an elevator and told me about his diabetes. And I told him, well, believe it or not, I work with a doctor that specializes in preventing and reversing diabetes. His blood sugar was up over 500. He had been praying and praying and praying, and I ran into him on an elevator. He volunteered it for me when I just asked what he was doing there that day. You know, that's all I had asked. But people have a need out there. Well, it's an incredible business opportunity because, you know, there's a lot of people out there, in addition to sick bodies, have sick wallets. And that's why we have this opportunity, because in the course of providing for your family, of providing a real income and a fantastic income, we can help people be healthy, and that's what it's about. But that's why you love, the first thing that makes us unique, again, is unique products that are focused on results. It's also incredible leverage because it's easy to do. You don't have to be the expert. All you do is get good at sharing these CDs with people. When every time somebody listens to this CD, it'll do 70 minutes worth of work for you. And we even have a pharmacy discount card, the 90 for Life savings card, that'll help people save money on a prescription so they can use some of that money for nutrition or just as a conversation starter, so you can share with them the CD. And then finally, incredible residual income, because people see results. If you want a business that will provide for your family for years to come, where you can work once and get paid over and over again, let me tell you, this is the business. We have people that we worked with over 15 years ago when I first got involved in this, that love the product so much they have used it every single month for the last 15 years, and they tell other people about it. And it's grown into even more volume. Would you like a business that'll pay you for the next 15 years? Well, let's go out there and help people. And here's what we do. It's not about making a sale. It's about sharing an idea for free. And many of those people will buy products. It's that good. We use the CD. We're going to tell you more about the business opportunity in the next webinar, starting at 15 minutes after the next hour. And then we're going to do training on how to share the CD so that people listen to it, okay? All right. That's what it's about. So getting started. You can be a customer and just get the products from whoever referred you to this. You can sign up as a preferred customer. It's actually a free sign up. Get it at wholesale prices, or you could start a business. For that, it's only $10 to get started, but we're going to tell you more about that. Either on the Blitz calls, you see a number there where you can call in and listen. It's only an 8-minute call, or come to the webinar that we're having here in about 20 minutes. Okay. But whatever you're at, continue your education. If you've just barely got started with us, continue your education. If you're looking at us for the first time and you have questions, you need more information, continue to get the information. There's no way we can share everything with you in 1 hour. The great thing is we don't have to. We have incredible CDs. Now, let me give you some of my favorite. Best of Dead Doctors Don't Lie. Everybody needs to hear that, probably more than once. If you already heard it, I encourage you to hear it again. Healing is Easy. We've already talked about. The Dead Doctors Don't Lie book is even, I'd say probably 100 times more information than the CD does. You'll love the book if you like the CD. You'll love the book. And almost everybody I've had, actually everybody that's actually read the book, I haven't had any of them that didn't want to try the products. It's that good. The Strouser files on selenium. Okay, you know, anybody with cancer. Okay, there's one called Seeing is Believing. Anybody with any eye problems. This is an interview with an eye doctor who's had 27 patients that were legally blind that now see. The Serial Killer CD on digestion is one of our top sellers. People love that. If somebody needs to go gluten-free, it's not, they typically go gluten-free not when someone else wants them to, when they want to. So that's where self-education becomes so important. You don't tell them what they need. Share with them the CDs and let the CDs do it. Who Made MDs King? We already referenced there to find out more about the medical profession more. That's available at yteamtools.com. And that's it. Now we have just a few minutes here. I want to thank Josh and Dr. Shane and all of those people that have been on here to have answered questions. We have just a few minutes. Let's talk about some of the questions. I do see that some questions on the eggs. You're absolutely right. If you've ever heard of E. coli, it's always on the outside of the egg, never on the inside. A great way to clean your eggs is to get that PureWorks, and you can just spray that PureWorks on and clean it. Don't put it back in the tray when you do it. Put it in. Make sure you clean out the tray in your kitchen in your refrigerator. And when you do that, then you just put the eggs in your refrigerator, and hey, you're great. Hey, thank you, Dr. Shane. Maria, yeah, exercise will help. Nutrition will help you get rid of the cravings. Exercise by itself isn't going to do it, because oftentimes people exercise, they burn off calories, but they haven't fixed the cravings. They haven't fixed the reason they go back to it. And that's one where I would definitely look at adding the sweeties on as one of the secret sauces. And we have some great weight loss products as well. Okay, colon, bowel, rectal cancer. Folks, if you've had that, that's a sign of irritation in the digestive tract. I would, number one, go gluten-free. Get a copy of that Serial Killer CD. And two, anything to boost the immune system. Here's what we can say. Selenium helps prevent cancer. They don't let us say selenium helps treat cancer yet, even though they use it for treatment in Germany. But what I would do to boost the immune system, I would take the Healthy Start or the Healthy Heart and Brain Pack, lots of extra selenium. For me, if I had a severe immune system issue like that, I'd be doing probably 9 a day. I would do lots of antioxidants. We talked about ORAC score. Even on this conference call we had before this webinar, I'd be looking at least 50,000 ORAC score a day. The Cell Shield RTQ is a great one for that. Yeah. Yeah, and again, Dr. Shane, we talked about this. When you're getting ulcers, that's bacteria in the stomach. You've got to kill off that bacteria, have an acid environment. And you want to rebuild the stomach lining. Stomach lining, again, falls in the EFA cholesterol deficiency. Robin, I would still use the Ocean's Gold. The reason is, if somebody is on thyroid medication, there's two types. The first thing I wanted to say is, if at all possible, they need to go and get their prescription instead of using the Synthroid, which is artificial one, only works in about half the situation. One that's more effective and cheaper with fewer side effects is actually Armour Thyroid. It's made from the pig glands, and that one would be the one I would use. But the Ocean's Gold and all of those are to make that thyroid, what you're using, as effective as possible. Okay. Erica, the liquid glucogel also versus the glucogel capsules. The capsules are better at rebuilding the joint. The liquid one is quicker at relieving inflammation. So you can use both, but when we're talking about rebuilding, Dr. Wallach likes the capsules. When you're talking about inflammation and quick results, hey, people love the liquid for that. Yep, absolutely, Sherman. That's sorry, Barry also said the Z radical is good. Yeah, there's a lot of studies. In fact, if you go to www.pubmed.gov and look up fucoidan, there's over 800 different studies on fucoidan and cancer. You look up selenium there's over 3,000 there. So that's another great add-on there. In fact, Dr. Wallach also often had the oxybody, always on an empty stomach, as well as sometimes the killer biotic, anything to boost the immune system. Rheumatoid arthritis. When you're taking killer biotic on that one, I would just make sure that I'd use the Healthy Bone and Joint Pack and rub lots and lots and lots of that CM cream on the joints. Now, a little bit of exercise can be good when you're strengthening the muscles, because the muscles help support the joints. Okay. Surely you're going to have to tell me what the condition is. I'm not familiar with all of the different names of the different pharmaceuticals. If it's a statin drug, which it looks like nystatin, and it was me, I would just stop taking it. Never, ever, 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 ever take it again. Doctors the MDs have been taught by the pharmaceutical companies that you want to lower cholesterol. So they're always trying to lower cholesterol. Dr. Wallach says don't let them do that. In fact, the statin drugs have been linked to both, even the FDA admits it causes Alzheimer's, and it's been linked to Parkinson's as well. In fact, there was a lady that I had here at one of our meetings in Japan that was really crippled with Parkinson's, but she said she developed it after she started taking a cholesterol-lowering drug. So I would never take a statin drug, okay? Never take a statin drug. I would use the Healthy Heart and Brain Pack, and stay away from statin drugs. Don't be worried about my cholesterol. In fact, I'd be worried about low cholesterol. Dr. Wallach says you want your cholesterol for men over 250 and women over the age of 40 over 300. Diana, the same thing for any of the other immune system. We already talked about that. You could start, especially here, with a Healthy Brain and Heart Pack, because of the extra EFAs which you're going to want for the esophagus. And then I'd use CM cream on the outside too, because you're going to get some benefit of that the EFA absorbing in through the throat. And then lots of selenium. I would throw on the oxybody, the fucoid, the Z radical or fucoid Z, depending on your budget, and can all be good things as well. Okay, elevated blood sugar in diabetics, the rebound. If you use it between a meal, I wouldn't think that there'd be a big change there, but there's a little bit of sugar there. And if somebody's really sensitive to it, they might be. Excellent, Dr. Shea. Marlene, would it be easier on the stomach? Well, there's a strong taste with the liquid glucogel, and some people don't like that taste. Most people actually get that taste when, well, if they don't like it, they start taking it, and then afterwards they like it. So just depend on the person. If they're sensitive to capsules, yeah. If somebody's got a yeast infection falls in the digestive category. So digestive problems. Amber, the pollen burst is not honey. It's actually not bee pollen, it's flower pollen. And so I'm one that's also sensitive to it, but I don't have any problem with the pollen burst. Okay. Candy, I don't know on that. It sounds like it is, but I can tell you I had a nephew that was on an inhaler. He started using 10 of those EFA a day, and in 8 days, no more inhaler. So that's definitely in the EFA and cholesterol deficiencies. Heavily alkaline water, and there's a difference between like a 7.0 and 8.0. When you go like a 7.4 slightly alkaline, not a big issue. But every time you go up 1 point, like from a 7 to an 8, you've increased the alkalinity tenfold. And that's going to neutralize stomach acid. Don't use high alkaline water with your food. Dr. Wallach says don't do that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're a little bit over our time limit. We want to thank everybody for being on. We're going to be back in about 10 minutes to talk about this incredible business opportunity. We hope you join us, because even if you personally have all the money you need, you probably know people that still need help with their health, and we could use your help in sharing it with them. And you probably know people that could use a little extra vitamin M, a little healthier wallet as well. And that's what this is, a great business. It's a great business because there's a huge need, and we really do help people. So with that, we're going to sign off. Thank you, everybody,